Hello there. Welcome back to another episode of Anchored. As you can see, I've kind of got a different pair of glasses on today. That's because as I was getting ready for today's lesson, I was looking through all the many glasses that we've collected over the years as different examples of how we need to be looking at things differently. And that's exactly what today's lesson is on. It's on how to see things differently. So I thought, well, we better put on a different pair of glasses so that we can get anchored. These are a pretty funny pair of glasses. So I was just kidding with these glasses, but they're fun to put on. Why I went into my glasses box is because I was looking for a pair of glasses that might help me see things in the way that Jesus wants us to see things. So this is one of our pairs of glasses in there. They're really big. I thought, well, maybe if we want to see like Jesus sees, then we should get really big glasses because he can see everything. He has a really big picture. And then when I started thinking about that big picture, well, I was brought to these. These are in that box too, and maybe you have looked through these things. They make far away things come close. And then it's really fun to look at them opposite too, where you take them and they make close-up things look really, really far. But these aren't the glasses that we're going to use either. In fact, we're going to use something that doesn't even look like glasses. I think it was my friend Donovan, actually, who helped in this lesson at Serve. So if you're watching, Donovan, I hope you remember this. You see, we were looking for Jesus glasses. We were looking for things that we could look through that would help us see things the way that Jesus wants us to see things. And we had a great, big, plain marble. It's clear, and I can look through it. And when I do, something really interesting happens. In fact, everything I see here is flipped upside down. And I know it's hard for you to see, so I've brought some pictures of things that people have taken as they've taken pictures through here. So I want you to look at the first one. Can you see that it's all upside down? This person was looking at a cityscape, and if you look really closely, you can see that the buildings in the distance are all upside down. I want to show you another picture. This next picture is a picture of a lady who is holding this, and she asked somebody to take a picture, and you can see her. She is upside down. And this marble, this upside down reminder usually sits on my desk at Hope Center. In fact, I usually look at this when I'm in the office each and every day. And every time I look at it, I remember that upside down picture. You know, one of the best stories that helps me understand Jesus' upside down kingdom is when his disciples, James and John, were kind of having a little bit of an argument. You see, they wanted to come and they wanted to be part of a dinner, and in Jesus' day, everybody had a special seat around the table. There was a seat for the guest of honor, and then at the very end, around the corner, there was also a seat for his servant. We don't have those same kinds of rules, although we do live in a world that puts things in certain order, and I know that many of you like to play cards, and so I brought with me my cards, and I put them in the order of importance in a card deck. So we have the king at the very top, and then the queen and jack, and 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and I put this one at the bottom because it only has one, so the ace. And this is kind of the order of importance. And this is the picture that James and John had in their minds too. So in that way, our world and the world that they were living in at that time were similar. You see, there were people who were at the top. They were most important. And there were people who were at the bottom, and they were least important. Now, Jesus liked to talk in stories, and he liked to demonstrate, but what he said to James and to John, he said, you know, if you want to be the greatest, if you want to be the greatest, if you want to be up top, if you want to be considered the most important, you first have to be willing to do something. You have to be willing to look through this kind of a lens, through a Jesus-like lens, and you have to be willing to turn this picture around. You have to be willing to be the least, showing that being the servant is actually the most important. We refer to Jesus often as King of our lives, but we have to be reminded that Jesus was the kind of king who came to be a servant. He was a servant king. Jesus showed this in his actions. You see, in those days, there was a job that needed to be done. It was all about washing feet. Ooh, I'm not a fan of feet. And so I can imagine that not very many people wanted that job. You see, that was a job for a servant. And when Jesus' disciples came to a special meal, they came and they were used to getting their feet washed before supper, but they were always used to a servant washing. And in their minds, Jesus was leading them. He was up top. But remember this. Remember this upside down. That day, Jesus did something. He grabbed a towel and he grabbed a basin and he started washing their feet. The work of a servant. Some of the disciples didn't like that very much because he was serving them and they thought that they should be serving him. But he was showing a picture. He was showing himself to be a servant king. What kind of a king is this? You see, on Palm Sunday, when Jesus was riding in Jerusalem, people were cheering because they thought he was this kind of a king. And the more the week went on and the closer we get to Good Friday, they started seeing this upside down picture. They started seeing the servant king Jesus, and they asked, what kind of king is this? So I hope today that you will take time to look through this kind of a lens, to think about how you can also serve those around you. And be reminded, just like James and John had to be reminded, that the person who wants to be the greatest must be the person who is willing to be the least. So, let's continue to flip things.